Hi, I'm Kenny Marlow. I lead the SP team at Alternative Networks. Alternative Networks is a solutions integrator based in the UK that covers everything from mobile phones all the way through to network connectivity, not just your traditional sort of reseller. What I want to talk today about is what we're really doing around network function virtualization and in sort of relation to hybrid virtual and physical networks, and just kind of show what we're doing in the labs with some of our clients and basically why we're doing it, and sort of some use cases from the ETSI standards document where we've taken a couple of case studies, and then basically show sort of where we're going with that, and that's taking the the hybrid environment and moving that towards things like VXLAN and EVPN within the core, things like virtual route reflectors, virtual routers, and then how we're going to move that on into our sort of SDN environment. So why NFV and not straight into SDN? About a year ago, we kind of made a conscious decision that we didn't want to be another voice in the room, standing up, putting our hands up and saying we're SDN experts. We wanted to sort of look at network function virtualization first in the context of things like virtual CPE, how that would work, and look at it in the point of view of what's going to be like for the network operator. You know, the guy at 2 o'clock in the morning getting that phone call, there's an outage. You know, are there any demarcs that might be between network engineering and system engineering, things like that. And then how we integrate that into the core network and things like MPLS. One of our clients had an interest in VXLAN, so we wanted to look at that as well. And obviously now we're looking at EVPN as well. And once we kind of understood that, that's when we thought we'd be better positioned to start talking about SDN overlay networks within the data center and the orchestration piece and automation. We didn't want to go straight into SDN and automation of networks before we understood everything that was going on there. So this is the ETSI documents that I'm not sure if people have seen before. The document on your left, as you're seeing it on the screen, this is probably the most useful document. It's quite a technical document, but it has a lot of case studies in there of where ETSI believe network function virtualization is going. And from that document, we've taken 2 case studies. That's network infrastructure and virtual CPE, because they kind of combine together. But going forward, there's things like, you know, your broadband access and stuff like that that's in there where they think virtualization will also go. And, you know, this document, it's been written by, you know, some pretty heavy hitters on the carrier side. So this is a document that I think is quite relevant for service providers, and well, we should take it quite seriously. It's quite easy to get. It's just Google ETSI and you'll find the document. It's really worth reading. So we took the ETSI document and we looked at it. So this slide is not really stating much other than this is where ETSI think that network function virtualization will go. It's taking your traditional physical network elements and virtualizing them, putting them into things like centralized data centers and putting more intelligence there rather than out to sort of customer endpoints. So this is a sort of show of what we've been doing. We took vSphere, we took ESXi 5.5, we loaded in a virtual firewall, and we wanted to connect that into the physical network. I have to admit, I'm not a VMware expert, so if you know, things don't look right here. We took basically the basic network connectivity, we loaded into vSwitch 0. We made that our management network, so we could get vCenter, vShield, normal SSH access, and just basic network connectivity. From that, we then loaded in a D-switch, put it into the cluster. And then from there, we moved into vShield Manager. And because the switch that we've got in the physical network is also a VXLAN gateway, that gave us the ability, by provisioning through VSM, the VXLAN configuration. And we wanted to see how all that integrated into the physical network, just to show that everything was okay. And, you know, I agree, we're not doing anything new here, but we want to look at these demarcation points of, you know, is there going to be an issue between network engineering, traditional network engineering guys, and systems engineering who maybe look after the VMware side of things. And take it on here. So we've got the 2 bottom shots here. We've got the SSH access into the virtual firewall here that's hosted on ESXi. and we've got the web user interface. So this is what we're seeing as the traditional network engineer is going to see, but also we've got the vSphere web client on the top right there. And this is what we looked at, is if I'm the network operations guy and I go back to the network, is where are my demarcs going to be? Because effectively the infrastructure is now coming in across into that distribution switch, into the virtual firewall. And that's what we wanted to understand is, before we move into SDN, is, and this is all automated, if we have to start troubleshooting this network, what are people going to be looking at? Are there going to be multiple people involved? Can network engineers go into the vSphere environment and start troubleshooting with that virtual switch? So that's what we've been testing. We're testing this with clients as well today. And they're getting, clients are getting ready to move from this into their production networks. So this is where we're going with it. This is OpenBlock. We are a Juniper Elite partner, so I'm trying to sort of stay vendor neutral as much as possible, but I have to put my stake in the ground, and we are going to go with Contrail as our SDN environment platform. OpenStack, Grizzly, Havana. We do a lot of stuff internally with CloudStack, so we'll probably do a lot around that as well. But OpenBlock is it's a Juniper pod that's a set of part numbers that Juniper have ratified in the US, and it kind of rolls in as a fully functioning SDN platform. There's a couple of white papers and configuration documents that come with it that show you how to integrate all this, cabling, schematics, everything. So it's just very simple, pretty much loaded up in a day. So we're going to go with this. This is where we're going. Once we've done that, we're going to start doing our continual testing. So we've been looking at virtual firewalls, and today we've just been putting them in packet mode because we've been more interested in the network connectivity rather than the actual firewall functionality, but we need to start looking at this as a firewall system, and part of that is we need to test NFV with the HA clustering within the virtual server or virtual server environment. So we'll be testing this because we think this is where people are going to go day one before they roll into SDN, is HA clustering, firewalls, and virtual CPE. And then going forward, this is probably where we're going to be in about sort of 8 weeks' time. To the, am I looking? Your left, is it? No, sorry, to your right. That's where we are today. That's our NFV hybrid virtual CPE environment that we're testing in, where we're testing today with virtual firewalls, but going forward, we will be testing things like the virtual MX that's about to be launched, how that integrates with the CPUs and a CPU acting as an FPC as it would be on a traditional MX router. Virtual route reflectors, we want to check that out as well. Again, we will be looking at the Juniper one, and that comes as an image file, so we need to sort of look at how we load that into KeyMove and convert that over to VMDK, and sort of help our clients understand, how they can do an ease of deployment when they start looking at this themselves. And from there, obviously our Contrail SDN environment, where we're going to tie the two together. On site one on this, our Contrail environment, we want to keep that as a silo, because there's a lot of things that are going to be happening in there with the automation side of things, and going forward that we will probably put a front end onto that as well, so what we're calling is a self-care portal. And I believe we might be showing something at IP Expo around that as well, where we might have just a basic self-care portal where someone can show spinning up a virtual firewall or a virtual appliance through a web interface. And I guess, very short and sweet, really, but this is why we're basically doing it. We are testing NFV. It is being proven, and people are moving it into the production networks. We are actually working with a few clients already on this, and they're very, very happy. Virtual CPE, this is where it's going at the moment. Our clients are seeing it as a potential to drop the CPE capex and potentially drive new revenue out of the wire. And I think their concept on that is to move intelligence into the centralized data center and start looking at how they can drive revenue from the wire itself more intelligently. I agree that you're always going to have some kind of CPU device at a customer site, but it's probably going to be a very cheap, something like a layer 2 platform where you have the intelligence centralized in the data center. Definitely think that hybrid virtual and physical networks are going to be deployed going forward very quickly. I see that as the potential move and path towards SDN. And I think once that's understood, people will be more comfortable with deploying to an automated network environment. And as we've shown, you don't need to wait for an SDN orchestration platform. You don't have to go and get one now. You don't have to start playing with that. You could actually, spin up VMware, get these OVA files. The Juniper firewall that we used in our testing, it's an OVA file. I know Cisco and all the other vendors have the similar things. So, this is stuff that you guys can do today. Our lab itself, have actually simulated on my own MacBook using VMware Fusion 6. So I've taken the actual virtual firewall, and loaded VMware onto my lab. Sorry, time is. So I've taken that virtual environment and actually ported it onto my own MacBook so I can play around when I'm traveling and stuff, so I can look at concepts while I'm still on the move. So it just goes to show that this virtualization stuff is just easy to deploy. And this is quite interesting. I got this from a technical forum a couple of months ago. They did a survey, I guess just normal vendor type survey, and they believe that 80% of the service providers they surveyed will deploy virtual CPE by 2016, and 52% will deploy within the next so many months, 2014, 2015. And that was a representation of 51% of the worldwide sector, telecom operators. So that's where we are. That's what we've been testing. I just wanted to show the concept so it's easy for you guys to see that you could actually do this yourselves rather than wait around for SDN platforms and look at SDN. You could just go get the NFE and start looking at how you could do virtual CPU deployments or virtualized infrastructure such as route reflectors, routers, and things like that. So I guess that's me. My timing's up anyway. So. Any questions?
Okay, any questions for Kenny? Okay, well, thank you for the presentation, and once again, thank you very much for sponsoring the meeting.